What's up, Warrior Nation? Welcome back to the Warrior Rewind, where we take time to visit with members of the Valley Christian athletics community, past and present. Once a Warrior, always a Warrior. This is your host, Rob Fair, VC class of 2009, Assistant Athletic Director, and Warrior football and lacrosse coach. I encourage you to connect with me on Twitter at RobFair3 or email me at rfair@vcs.net to nominate a new guest that you'd like to hear from. You can find the Warrior Rewind just about anywhere podcasts live, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Now let's get to work. Today's guest is another fellow 2009 classmate of mine, and I'm excited to spend time today with Kelsey Byrd. Kelsey was a 3-year team captain of the Valley Christian women's basketball team, ultimately leading the Warriors to back-to-back CCS championships in 2007 and 2008. She was selected to the all-WCAL team and earned all-CCS honors all 3 years she spent on the varsity team. Additionally, she was selected to the All-San Jose Mercury news team her junior and senior years, San Francisco Chronicle's All-Metro team her junior year, was the Valley Christian Female Junior Athlete of the Year in 2008, and was Valley Christian's overall Female Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2009. Ultimately, her experiences allowed her to attend the high academic and athletic Ivy League school, Dartmouth College, where she studied geography and healthcare policy. Kelsey would go on to become a member of the Big Green women's basketball team, but pivoted her junior year and instead took up competitive cycling, racing road and mountain bikes her last 2 years at Dartmouth. After graduating from Dartmouth, Kelsey would go on an exciting journey to get her career off the ground. First, she moved to Maine, where she served as an AmeriCorps volunteer. After that, Kelsey moved back to California and took up a graduate assistant coach position with the women's basketball program at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where she would go on to earn a master's in sports management in 2018. Eventually, Kelsey realized she felt called elsewhere, and so she pursued an MBA in design strategy, which she completed just this past week. Today, Kelsey is a product manager at Microsoft, where she specifically engages in the development of technology for social impact. Kelsey, thank you so much for being on the Warrior Rewind.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My earliest memories of you obviously were that you played a lot of sports. You were super athletic, even at a young age in junior high. I remember you being on pretty much every athletic team we had an opportunity to field at Valley Christian. But ultimately you chose to play basketball over all of those other sports that you participated in. Can you talk a little bit about what ultimately made you decide to choose basketball over some of those other sports?
Yeah, so I had the dream to be able to play soccer and basketball all through high school, but in California, in the Bay Area, they're the same season, so that dream went out the window pretty quickly. But I played both sports all the way through junior high because I really enjoyed both of them, and I got to a place where I realized I wanted to really pursue one sport year round and had the opportunity to potentially play a sport in college. And I was a better basketball player at the end of the day. I used to practice soccer by trapping my rebounds. And then I realized that I probably didn't love soccer as much as I love basketball. So I think for me, that was really a turning point of going full in for basketball, starting my freshman year, giving up soccer. But I learned so many of the skills that I learned in soccer carried over to my basketball game. And people will tell you that I was a very scrappy basketball player. And I can credit soccer for that skill set.
Going back to your career and kind of all the really cool places that you've been able to develop professionally, I talked a little bit about your path since you graduated from Dartmouth. Can you talk a little bit about your professional career, how it's taken you to so many different places?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a winding path, but I think there is some consistency in it. When I came out of college, I was really interested in doing community health development work. And I had taken a lot of Native American studies classes, and I had this passion around rural and Native health. And I didn't have the opportunity to work in a reservation, but this opportunity came about on an island in Maine, which was a fishing island called Vinyl Haven. It's 1,200 year-round residents, 80% of people relied on fishing. And for me, it was really an opportunity to take a lot of the concepts I've learned in geography around community development and apply it to a community and really live and work in a rural community doing health related practices. And so that's what I did. I moved to Vinyl Haven. It's 15 miles off the coast of Maine, a tiny community. And, as it would be, they were a basketball town. They loved their basketball. And so I showed up and they got wind that I played basketball. I went to a few pickup games and all of a sudden they thought that I played in the WNBA. And it was funny. I don't think anyone knew. I lived there for 2 years. I think everyone thought I was just the basketball coach. I don't think anyone knew what my actual job was. And so it became my way to bond with the community, but it also became something I loved to do. So I ended up assisting with the women's team or the girls team, high school team. And we had 2 great years. And I really loved coaching those girls. And, we'd travel off island, play Friday night, sleep on the floor of the gym, wake up the next morning, play a 9 a.m. game, drive back to the boat, and then get on the boat. And that was our weekend game series. So it was a unique experience, but a ton of fun. And the level of basketball wasn't high, but I really loved working with those girls. And so from there, I had always had a dream to coach in college from a very young age, even coming out of high school. Part of my decision to going to Dartmouth was to learn from a coach who had a strong reputation as being sort of a legend in the game. And so I took the opportunity to try and make the jump to coach college basketball. So luckily through actually a connection at Archbishop Midi, Sue Phillips there actually helped me get my job at Cal Poly.
Wow.
I cold called her one Thanksgiving when I was home and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get in the game." And she's like, "I remember you used to cause us hell. Yeah, we can get you a job." So she helped me get a job at Cal Poly, coaching with one of her former players, and who's now a coach at Santa Clara. And so I had the opportunity to sort of coach there for 3 years, and that was a great experience, and I loved every bit of it. But it wasn't the lifestyle that I was seeking in the long term. It was a lot of commitment and a lot of time, and so I sort of didn't know what the next step was, but I made the jump to go get the MBA to sort of make that shift, thinking I could go into athletic administration, I could go back to the nonprofit world, I could do a million things with an MBA. So that was sort of my contingency plan. And yeah, it landed me at Microsoft. That was not in the plans, but I'm very happy to be there.
What were, I mean, there's some big differences about coaching at the college level versus coaching at the high school level. Can you illustrate what some of the biggest differences are that maybe our audience might not anticipate?
Yeah, I think, I coached at a very different high school level than we see in California. So it's hard to compare the two experiences. But I think at the high school level, you as a coach, you have what's in front of you. The players that are on your team are the players that you work with, and you do your best to utilize and develop and make that the best team possible. At the college level, it's not necessarily like that. You are constantly recruiting, you're constantly bringing in new players. The level of play is constantly being elevated by your competitors. And so it's a much more competitive environment. The focus is a lot more around bringing kids in and recruiting them than it is around straight player development and really utilizing what you have. Of course, that's a piece of it, but I don't think even as a player, I recognize how much recruiting impacts the college game and how competitive it is. Just because you're on a team doesn't mean that you're getting playing time. You're always competing with the next girl coming in the door. And that just adds a different level of complexity and challenges from a coaching perspective, but also from a playing perspective that I never anticipated coming out of high school.
What type of lessons that you've learned either in coaching or in playing basketball or really any sport for that matter, are you able to now take into your career at Microsoft? What are some of the things that you've learned that you can best apply to your career now?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One is definitely the work ethic, the ability just to keep persevering and keep working through adversity. There are days in my job where it's just a rough day. Like everything's going wrong and we're all putting out fires. And that ability just to stay calm in that situation and just keep working at it and just keep moving forward is something that, you learn as an athlete because you're in that situation every fourth quarter of a game. And so you just learn how to have that perseverance. especially from a training perspective. I think another piece that is really important is the ability to step in and do whatever the team needs. Even in a work environment, you are always working on teams, and to have the perspective and the mentality where it's we're all getting this done together. Let me know how I can help, and no matter how menial the task is, I'm willing to do it for the team. And that mentality, I think, earns a lot of respect and trust in the workplace.
Hmm.
And it definitely comes from my sports background of just we got to get this done. How do we do it? I don't care how small the task is. I'll help get it done.
That's awesome. You know, one of the themes that I like to share all the time on the Warrior Rewind is once a warrior, always a warrior. So when you think about your time as a Valley Christian warrior, what does being a warrior mean to you?
Being a warrior is definitely around fighting the good fight. I think it's around coming together as a community and working together for a common good. And whether it's a basketball team and you're working to perform at your best and represent Valley Christian, or it's in a work environment where you're trying to do quality work that represents your company, it's really about coming together and working hard with one another and sustaining sort of this level of excellence that we do talk about at Valley Christian, that there is this sort of pride about how do we do things at the highest level and highest standard to represent not only our community, but who we are as people, and also our faith in a lot of ways, that we do things at a high quality because we follow a God who does everything at the highest quality. And so I think there's this intertwining between our, what our faith looks like, how we go about our work, and also how do we support one another.
You briefly mentioned excellence, and obviously that's a big thing at Valley Christian. We're always on the quest for excellence, and I like to have these conversations with the guests on the Warrior Rewind because everybody has such a unique quest, and yours has taken you to, across the country, to the East Coast, to Dartmouth, and then to Maine, and now back to California, high school coaching, college coaching, now at Microsoft. When you think of the quest for excellence, and specifically the word excellence, how is it that you would define excellence?
I think I would define it as doing everything at the highest level that you can, the highest level of quality and effort that you can give that product or that project. I think that it's really about the mindset that someone brings into a task and whether or not they're willing to do everything it takes to do it at a high level. I think we can approach tasks with two ways. One is to get it done, and one is to get it done with a level of excellence and quality that represents sort of that quest for excellence, if that makes sense.
For sure. No, I totally get it. Yeah. It's not doing the bare minimum. It's the opposite of doing the bare minimum, right? You're
Right.
always trying to infuse as much quality as you possibly can in everything you do. And that's not easy because we can often run out of gas in the tank.
Absolutely.
That's why it's a quest, is because you constantly have to refill the gas in the tank in order to continue to get the most out of your experiences. So that totally makes sense. I get it. Kelsey, what is one thing that sport has done for your life that most people wouldn't expect? I ask this question a lot. And, it's because there are some pretty surface level things that sports do for us, right? It teaches us the value of, sportsmanship and work ethic, and it allows us to remain physically active and stay healthy that way. But when you go a little deeper into your sport experience, what is something that sport has done for you?
I think sports has created me into the leader I am. I think I go into situations and I can understand sort of the dynamics that exist. I can understand the challenges in front of us and how to sort of move people forward in a united way. And all that comes from sports. It's, I think I can credit my coach at Valley Christian for at a very, I came in as a sophomore, first time on varsity, and I was voted as a captain. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a sophomore. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. But at that point, my coach really put a lot of effort into teaching me what leadership was, and me failing through it and, and really struggling with it. But I really credit him for giving me 3 years of in-depth leadership teaching and coaching. And I took that with me everywhere I went. And I think that I credit my ability to be a leader and my ability to sort of move people forward in a united way with his instruction, his mentorship in my life while I was at Valley Christian. And I'm super thankful for the opportunity to be sort of groomed in that way and taught. I don't think everyone gets that opportunity, and I can definitely credit sports for that.
Valley Christian is a place of faith, right? Where we hope to instill not only good values into the young men and women that come to the school, but hopefully Christian values, right? We don't want just good people. We want ultimately men and women who are leaders in the image of Christ to come through our school. And so how would you say that sports in particular has shaped your faith?
Yeah, I think I think it's easy to have a faith that is a set of values. It's much harder to have a faith that drives your behavior and how you see yourself and your identity and how you move throughout the world. And I think the latter is a faith that's active and a faith that can make a difference. And I think when I was in a setting of sports, is my faith had to become an action. It had to become who I was and my behavior. It couldn't just become a set of words. And I think that I've had I feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to play at a Christian school and really allow my faith to be intricately connected with what I did as a player. But I think even coaching at Cal Poly, it was intricately connected to how I worked with and mentored the women who I coached. And that my faith was more than just sort of a set of values. It was how I saw the world and how I lived in the world and positioned myself. And in that way, I mentored the women on my team with that sort of knowledge and that faith. So I think for me, it's intricately connected to everything I do. And athletics has given me a platform to share that faith and to really provide sort of the stability and peace that God's given me to those around me in a mentoring setting.
On that note, Kelsey, what inspires you or what makes you strive to be your best self?
I'm inspired. This is going to sound cliche since we're on a athletics podcast, but I'm inspired by teams and community. I think something that is a consistent theme, and when I talk about sort of the journey of my career, my professional life, I talk about this fact that I really believe in the power of bringing people together, whether it's a team on a sports or communities or in a work environment, and getting the best out of every person. How do we all use the skills and the abilities we have to complement one another, to support one another, and to really achieve real change in the world? And I think that that's something that really inspires me and gets me excited. And it's something I've done in every job I've had, is bring people together to get stuff done. And not only get stuff done, but to get stuff done in a way that changes the world. And I think that is something that makes me excited. Any opportunity to do that is always exciting for me. Margaret Mead has a quote that I love, and it's discovered this when I was in Maine working with community members, and I was really humbled by the commitment that each of them had to making their community better and to working together to achieve that. And I felt very honored to be a part of that process. And the quote by Margaret Mead is, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And I really take that quote to heart, that if we can enter every situation being thoughtful, working together, and really trying to make a difference, we can actually see difference in the world, or even in the environment or the place that you live. And that's what really inspires me, is working in teams, working together, figuring out everyone's strength and making that change.
That's so cool. Really a lofty goal, right? When you think about
Very
changing the
lofty.
world, but admirable. And I know that the stuff that you're working on at Microsoft, in particular in your division, you're in the place to do it, hopefully. So that's really cool. Kelsey, do you have a favorite memory from your time at Valley Christian?
Yeah, I do. It's funny how the best memories, don't necessarily come in the ways that you would think. But I remember our freshman year, which this won't surprise anyone. This is one of my favorite memories. But freshman year, we were playing Powder Puff, and we took out the juniors, which was shocking. And then we went and took on the seniors, and everyone tells the story differently, but I would say that we beat the seniors.
Yes, we definitely did.
We definitely beat the seniors, despite the fact that someone might have run on the field in the last triple overtime to catch a ball. But yes, it's I remember that being a fun memory because our whole class was there and when we were chipper, excited freshmen, and it was just a fun experience. You know, a lot of my teammates were on that team, a lot of people I played soccer with in junior high, and it was just a fun experience to come together and have a good time, a little bit of competitiveness, and football I always loved to play. So that's probably one of my best memories is taking down the seniors our freshman year and all the fun we had doing that.
I think at a minimum, in the record books, it goes down as, even if the seniors won, there's got to be an asterisk next to
Oh,
it
for
because
sure.
they cheated so bad to win that game.
For sure. Yeah. But that whole experience was fun. And I just remember having, a lot of our class there enjoying it, and it was a good time.
Well, thank you for sharing that. The way that I like to kind of wrap up every podcast is with a question that hopefully the young warriors that are listening can maybe learn something from this and take a piece of your experience and apply it to themselves. And that is, if you could go back in time and visit with Kelsey, high school athlete Kelsey, at two different times, one as an underclassman, a freshman, a sophomore, and one as an upperclassman, a junior, a senior, and you could give young Kelsey two pieces of advice, early in high school and late in high school, what would those two pieces of advice be?
Yeah, man. So I think early in high school, I think the advice would have been to me that to enjoy it while I have it. I think there was always this mindset that, it's trying to be, there was trying to be something, a bigger stage or a bigger opportunity. And the reality is that the best opportunity was sitting right in front of me. And I think that I would have probably told myself, like, enjoy the next 2 years. Like, they're going to be fun. They're going to be great. And you're going to really enjoy your time. Don't be rushing through it. And then I think if the advice I give to my upper class self is probably to take myself a little less seriously. I think that I was super driven and I did really well in school and I did really well on the basketball court because I was so driven. But I think I also put too much of my identity and too much of myself in my ability to be a basketball player and be an athlete, and a smart athlete at that. And I think going into college, I recognized when injury sort of derailed my college career, recognized that I had missed out on opportunities to grow in other ways and to really expand and take myself less seriously. So I think, we can all be driven, we can all try and achieve, but the reality is that those things that we run after with everything we have, they eventually disappear, in some way or form. Either they become less important to us or they get taken from us in some sense. And that's not where our identity is, and it's not where our purpose is. It's much higher than that. And so I think knowing that and recognizing that at a younger age, I think would have been healthy for me. It probably would have looked a lot different, but I don't have any regrets from high school, but I definitely think I could have learned that lesson sooner.
Well, Kelsey, that's great advice. Thank you so much for sharing both of those little tidbits. And again, I hope that the Warriors out there listening can hopefully take that to heart. Before I let you go, if we have listeners that want to connect or follow along in your future journeys, maybe let us know what your social media is. If somebody wants to reach out on Instagram or Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, I am very old school and don't have social media, but find me on LinkedIn, and I happily connect there. The old person's form of social media, so I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, Kelsey, thanks again for being on the Warrior Rewind. Stay safe during all these crazy times right now, and good luck in your new career at Microsoft.
Thanks, you too. Nice to catch up with you.